Wow. Lots of folks here. Hey, thanks for coming. Joe, you want to shut the door maybe? Great. And slam it so it latches. Everybody knows where the bathroom is? There's waters and beers in the fridge. Please, anybody needs one, please reach in and grab one. There's Oktoberfest and Spotted Cow, I think, in there. Yeah, should I say it again? Oktoberfest and Spotted Cow. So anyway, I'm going to hand this over to Jeff Plants for a bit. Thanks, Jeff. Well, hey, everybody. I guess I'm on tonight. My name is Jeff Russell. This is my hangar. For those that you don't know me, I'm retired. I've been retired for coming up on 8 years. It's given me an opportunity to do a lot of flying, and a lot of flying to some neat places. Can everybody hear me all right? Okay, great. So I have a Super Cub that I bought 20 years ago in 2005. Took it apart in 2006 for a 1-year rebuild, and 6.5 years later, got it back in the air. Have about, in June of 13, I got it flying again. I have about a little over 2,000 hours on the Super Cub since I got it back together. And I've been fortunate to fly it, lots of neat places. I could say 3.5 times to Alaska, because one time I left it up there and went and traveled back a second time to use it, so you could say 4 times. But out west, lots of different places. Tonight, I'm going to talk about a recent trip. Went up to Alaska in July and had an absolutely fantastic trip. I'm going to talk a little bit. There's like, why would you want to go to Alaska in an airplane? So there's the why, and then there's the how. Where do I go? Where do I clear customs? How much fuel do I need? Where do I get fuel? Blah, blah. I'm not going to talk a lot about the how. I'm going to talk more about the why. Why do you want to go to Alaska? And talk about the beautiful sights. So we did it, and I'm not going to jump ahead, but we did it as a flight of three guys with 3 airplanes. Jim Stevenson was in his Cessna 170. He's in tonight, so after, if you have lots of questions and you really want to get some good answers, talk to Jim. And you'll see tonight also, Jim's a phenomenal photographer, does a lot of aviation photography. You'll see a lot of his shots in the presentation tonight. So, with that, one last thing, and I don't want to forget. In addition to the flying that I do, I'm also involved with this organization called the Recreational Aviation Foundation. And our mission is to create, improve, and maintain recreational airstrips all around the country. We have about 14,000 supporters in the country, but actually from around the world. And we do things, and you'll see that some of the projects that we worked on up in Alaska, we actually did a work party up in Alaska on one of the days we were up there, and you'll see shots from that. But we also went and visited 2 sites where the RAF and our great supporters, I say the RAF, what it really is, it's a bunch of people coming together and supporting us and volunteering their time. 2 really good projects that we did up in Alaska, and you'll see pictures of those. If you don't know about the RAF, if you know about the RAF, if you're already a supporter, thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to learn more about the RAF, I have stickers, I have some brochures, and I actually have a little sign-up thing up there on the table. If you'd like to, please grab a sticker. There's a lot of stickers there, and when those run out, I got a whole bunch more. So don't leave here without some RAF stickers. How about we go with the lights? So there we are. What do you think of that picture? Can everybody see it all right? I don't remember exactly what valley that is, but that's Jim and our good friend Randy Goza and his plane up ahead of me. And that was just a screen grab with a 360 camera. Is the slide, is the PowerPoint showing, Scott? Oh, I got it. Oh, hang on, I'm backing up. It's working now. Thank you. Hey, so real quick, here's a little bit of the how I wasn't going to tell you about. So, right, obviously Wisconsin, and this is kind of our round trip. That's why we deviated a little bit on the way back, but we crossed customs in Montana, and then up to Fort Nelson, and then on the Elkhorn up into Alaska, and then our first step was here in McCarthy, Alaska. I'll talk about the rest of the trip over here. This is near Anchorage, north of Anchorage, and then we were down in Iliamna. So those are kind of the three pieces of the trip that I'm going to talk about tonight. I did the trip with Jim Stevenson on the right and Joe McDonough. I couldn't be luckier to have two guys to fly with. We've flown hundreds and hundreds of hours together. We don't have to, we know what each other is doing without even talking, right? We trust each other intimately, and we all fly bush type airplanes with big tires. Here's Jim's beautiful 170B model with 180 horse and bush wheels on it. And it's one of Jim's shots. I think this was up at Upper Friday Creek. And here's Joe's Maul. He's got an M7 Maul or 0540, but it's all bushed out. It's got 35-inch bush wheels. It was actually built by a guy in Alaska, a guy named Isaac, and it's an unbelievable bush plane. I think it can haul 2 moose out of a camp. And there's the plane that I fly, my 1951 L21A Super Cub, but it's got about 43 modifications on it. So it's pretty bushed out. I'll tell you a little bit about this strip real shortly, but can you believe the scenery in the background? So a little bit about the trip up. Right? The trip up is actually a lot of fun. This is a canola field that you fly over. And rumor has it that if I flew low over the canola field, it was the best camo ever. You couldn't see me.
You merged right into it.
Oh, yeah. So we brought tents on the trip. We intended to camp quite a bit. Well, we ended up only camping on the way up and on the way back. While we were in Alaska, we have friends and acquaintances. We had places to stay inside, cushy beds the whole time. So it was pretty amazing. And we didn't know that going up, but that's how it turned out. Here's a great strip, and I think I put the name on because I wasn't going to be able to remember it. Yukon Discovery Lodge. So this is just about to Alaska, but there's some really special places on the way up that you can really have fun on the trip. So here's the trip. This is the McCarthy area. So this is Wrangell St. Elias National Park, and that's where we're going to start. The red is Wrangell St. Elias National Park. How many people have heard of Wrangell St. Elias National Park? Okay, a few. It's our country's largest national park. It's 13 million acres. If you put yell at me if I'm in your way, Al. If you put Glacier National Park, Yellowstone together, and the country of Switzerland, Wrangell St. Elias is just a little bit bigger than that. It's amazing. And really, there's one road. There's one road to the center into the town of McCarthy, like a year-round population of 32. But it's a hotbed of activity in the summer. It's a tourist destination. But this park has no roads. It's 13 million acres. There's really no roads in it. So I just heard a statistic, and I don't remember where I heard it, but there's like 350 airstrips throughout the park. Now, most of them are they're rough and you don't even know they're there, but there's a lot of strips. It's an amazing place. 9 of the 16 highest peaks in the U.S. are in this park. I know. It's like, whoa, this sounds like a neat spot. I'll tell you a little bit more. Well, here's our arrival. This is our day coming into McCarthy. You think it was a little scuzzy? So that's Joe landing at Peavine Strip. So here is the park. It's down in southeast Alaska. A couple of interesting things. This is the Chitna River. It's a huge glacial river coming off this glacier. It's kind of a defining feature right down the middle of the park. But this is the Bagley ice field. You see this white field? This ice field is 134 miles long. It feeds dozens and dozens of glaciers all the way around it. I don't know how many hundreds of glaciers are in the park, but it's a lot of glaciers. It's really an amazing place. So here's our kind of our first day up in the park. This is right down here is McCarthy. We flew out to a couple strips, Peavine and Glacier Creek, and we also did Amphitheater Strip. And then this is a gorgeous strip called the Foss, and it's right alongside the glacier, the Kennecott Glacier. I learned this tool. I'll skip through something. You're going to get sick of seeing this, but I thought it was really cool. I just learned about this on Google Earth. Isn't it amazing that you can even do this? I'm a rookie at it, but here we are. Boom, there's the Foss airstrip. I go around a couple times. No, that's enough. So what do you think of that? So that strip, it's actually a very nice strip. It's about 500 feet long with probably another 100 and some foot of overrun. You have to have the right kind of aircraft to go in there, but there's a lot that can do it. But take a look at this mountain range. I mean, this is July, and it's just glaciers coming down. So the other thing that you'll notice on the right-hand side, and you'll see this, is glacial till. The glacier's just on the other side of this. And this is a berm of a ground mountain that the glacier is piling up next to it. There's Joe landing on the strip. Here's a picture of from my airplane, looking at the front of my airplane. But look at the scenery. We landed there, and it was obvious. It was a gorgeous day. We still pinch we're like, can you even believe we're here? We're just taking it in. It is an amazingly beautiful spot. Jim and Joe aren't happy at all to be there. And then that's looking back down on the plains from on top of the glacial ridge, or the glacial till. And you can see the beautiful blue skies looking one direction. Behind us, maybe not such beautiful. This is how it is in Alaska. It's highly variable. Pay attention, make sure you can get back. Watch what's going on. It changes quickly. There's another shot from the other direction, looking at that. And I tried to get these peaks named. It's not, so there's Mount Blackburn is one of the major peaks. Mount Blackburn isn't in here. It's off to the left. Mount Blackburn is 16,370 feet. So the other thing about this park is the ocean is sea level, 0. The park goes up to the ocean. There's a mountain, 16,370. Mount St. Elias, which is on the border to Canada, is 18,000 feet. 0 to 18,000. Now, I don't want to, hopefully nobody's from Colorado here. I don't want to diss Colorado. And Colorado starts at 5,000 feet in Denver. And they got 14ers, and they got a bunch of 14ers. Well, the difference is 9,000 feet. We got 16 and 18,000. Straight up. These are amazing mountains. If you get a chance to go see them, you can see I like this spot. I took a lot of pictures. I think Jim took more than I did. But I mean, then look at those peaks and look at the clouds coming over that. So here's an idea of that glacial berm, right? That glacial till. Our plains are down on the left. That is the Kennecott Glacier on the right-hand side there coming down. And that glacial till, that was mountain, that was solid rock. But when the glacier comes down the mountain, it is miles thick, or at least thousands of feet thick of ice. grinds the rock into this and turns it into this glacial till. It's pretty amazing. There's another picture of it. So you look on the right, it doesn't look like glacier, does it? But anything you see where Joe's standing, you got the glacial till. Anything to the right of that is actually glacier. But it's got all sorts of dark stuff on it. Well, in the summer, this is the lower part of the glacier. The glacier starts melting back, and it contains all of this glacial till. Well, that's what's left behind. So what you see is a lot of, as the glacier's melting down, it's leaving this rock surface. There's actually glaciers up there that have a full forest growing on the toe of the glacier. So from the Foss, we flew over to the amphitheater strip. And this is the Lysne River. And we're flying. I just wanted to show that, there's a bridge that used to be a bridge. But these rivers that we're familiar with dig deeper as you go. The river, like in the driftless area of Wisconsin, one of those beautiful valleys are all because the rivers have cut the valleys deeper and deeper, and they actually excavate dirt out. Glacial rivers fill up with dirt. So that's why they get this braided appearance. They flow for a little while, and they carry the glacial till, they fill up, and then they have to find a new path. And so they get this really braided look. And once you start looking at them, you know right away, oh, that must be a glacier feeding that river. Oh, here's another one of these. Well, look at though, I couldn't figure out, this comes in from like the north, and I couldn't figure, there. So this is the amphitheater strip. And you can actually see the strip right there. It's coming in, we're almost lined up right now. See it? That's the strip we landed on. But look at what's behind the strip. The toe of the Regal Glacier with a glacial lake. Boy, doesn't that look inviting? Jim is collecting some ice samples. We'll show you what we did with, very scientific research that we had with the glacial ice. That's looking down at the lake at the toe of the Regal. Actually, it's the Lysne, I think, here. But two glaciers come together. One might be the Regal. Forgive me, but it's one of those. Doesn't that look interesting? What would you like to do with that? Oh. Maybe we should bring some pack rafts and paddle through the icebergs and go paddle up to the toe of the glacier. I don't know if you're familiar with pack rafts. These things are absolutely amazing. They're 6 pounds. Some people might think they're a pool toy, but the one I have is close to a pool toy. The blue one that I'm inflating, the red one is actually ready for whitewater. I mean, they're amazing, amazing things. So here's the group. We're not happy at all. We're out in this glacial lake paddling around. Yeah, so in the back, on the left in the back is Ted Waltman. So Ted is from Colorado. Ted's been up to this part of the world a ton. He met us up there. He had a Super Cub. And then we ended up flying around and doing lots of stuff with Ted. But it just an amazing, underneath icebergs, just we're like, what planet are we on? It's just, and you can go do this. You don't have to have your own plane and land at the strip. We happen to be able to do that. You can hire an outfitter and they'll drop you off there. Jim rented that pack raft. Pack raft, dry suit, paddle, and life PFD was $100, Jim? $100. I mean, it was a really, really good deal. I mean, and it's the best $100 of fun you could ever have. Oh, it looks like I got a duplicate. But I mean, here we are paddling through the icebergs. Again, it's just, it's otherworldly. I kept my feet up to keep them from getting cold. The water was 30 2.5 degrees. Oh, so here we are. We had a great first couple of days, and then we have a rain day. Well, what do you do on a rain day? So in McCarthy, in the Wrangell St. Elias, part of the park is this old Kennecott mill. So the turn of the last century, they found a huge reserve of copper ore and actual chunks of copper up in here, and they built this ginormous mine, multiple mines in this mill. And we're talking like the 1900 whatever, 3, 4, I can't remember. It ran till 1931, and then they were done. They ran all the ore out of it. So we did a tour of it. Oh, is that the only picture I have of that? Okay. Well, I might have more later. They're just out of order. But we did a mill tour. I thought I had more mill shots. So what do we do? The next day we decided to go flying around a little bit. We went down to Iceberg Lake and Ross Green Lake. There's Ted Waltman's got kind of a backcountry Super Cub with slats on it. There's a picture that Jim took of Ted. Here we are at Ross. No, this was after. This wasn't Ross Green, but this was another. Look at what we landed on. Just it's the glacial till on the side of a river, right? It's just gorgeous. This was actually an airstrip, but basically it's just one where somebody picked the rocks off that you don't wreck anything. And it was a little windy that day. Jim landing in the strip, so you can kind of see the strips aren't super fancy. Oh, we're out of order. Sorry about that. Here's some more pictures of the mill. Just an amazing structure. They take you through this thing. You look at it, you go, oh, I'm not sure I want to go in there, but it's pretty cool. It's like 14 stories high. It's really a neat tour. So had a great rain day playing tourist. It was a lot of fun. That's inside one of the where this thing, it just keeps coming down from the top. They bring in all the ore up top and they keep sizing it and sifting it and sorting it all the way down the 14 stories. And every layer, they got a different thing. So just so you know, we weren't screwing off the whole time. We did some work too. We were up there to help the RAF state liaison. One of our state liaisons is Al Clayton. Al hosted a work party out in the park, and he also had a little social gathering. So Al was a few days behind us, so we tried to help get his yard cleaned up. There's Al's cabin. Yeah, that's Gladys the bus. It's actually fitted out pretty nicely. You can see a stove up sticking out of it, but it's got a stovepipe. So it's got Jeff Plants and I, when we went up here in 2018, we were fortunate to have used it then, and we were in July. We had fires every night, so it was chilly at night up there. So what do we do? Here we go the next day, and it looks like a repeat of the first day, but this was actually, I wanted to show, we did a work party out at the Peavine Strip. So here is McCarthy. This is our base camp in the park, and then over here to the Peavine Strip. Oh, look at this. You're gonna be sick of these things, buddy. Ooh, there it is. I think it does something else. Oh, there we go. So that is like at the strip. Does that look like a cool spot or what? What's that? I'm sorry? Richland Center. Yeah, just west of Richland. But the strip, the mountains go up on the either side of the Chittistone River. They go straight up. It's just an amazing spot. So we get to the place, to the strip, and there's a couple of cabins at the strip. Anybody read what it says on there? It says, received multiple reports of bear encounter. A black bear has been trying to break in during the night hours. It says, thank you, Ranger Williamson, 7-5. We were there on 7-8. The ink was still wet on this piece of cardboard. All of a sudden, I think I'm like, hey, you got your bear spray? No, I don't have my bear spray. You got your bear spray? Because we're about 100 yards from the strip. Anyway, there's bears up there. So here's this work party. A great group of folks. We went in. It's amazing in Alaska. You see, you think Alaska, right? How many summer months do they get? They don't get many, but they get these alders that grow on the sides of the strips. They can grow 6 feet in a year. It's amazing because the sun is, 20 hours of sunlight in the summer. And so if you don't keep fighting the alders back, they're gonna grow in, and you're gonna have an unusable strip really quickly. So this one, we actually worked on this one in 2018 as well. So when Jeff Plants and I went up that year, we did a work party on this very strip in the park. And the Park Service, the RAF, our team up there has built this phenomenal relationship with the Park Service. Normally, if you want to go do work in a park, you have to do a environmental impact research and do a study, and up here they just say, oh, RAF, yeah, go ahead and do it. They used to accompany us, now they just send us off, and they trust us to go work in the park. There's Rod and I, after we fixed the brush mower. That brush mower was taken apart and hauled out in a 185. That's what you do in Alaska. And then we put it back together. We brush mowed, it broke down twice. I actually had tools, and I actually had we put AN hardware saved the day on that thing. There's a goofy strip. It's actually, that's one of those. But look at where we are. You get a couple things on here. You'll see the brush we went after, all this stuff. I mean, the trees obviously line the edge of the strip, but this stuff grows up 6 feet, and your wings can't even get over it. So we brushed most of this out. But again, look at the mountain. I mean, this picture doesn't do it justice, but I mean, it hurts your neck to look up that mountain. It's straight up. There's a shot of the group that was out there. Brush mowers, loppers, everything, cut the brush and haul it away. Just pile it off into the woods. And, maybe not all work. So you might notice, Al Clayton, he owns Gladys, and he actually owns the airstrip. Al's an attorney in Anchorage, but he also made an investment in King Street Brewery. So guess what kind of beer we had? So he brings beer out in his plane, and I'll just point out, if you see the ice that's on the keg, where did that come? Yeah. Oh.
Did you try this whiskey? Rabbit hole? No. Okay. Rabbit hole. Rabbit hole.
I bring mine at tomorrow. We'll just finish this one right here. I will.
So there was maybe some bourbon, maybe some single malt scotch, and we chilled it with 10,000-year-old ice. It's kind of a thing they do up there, but it's a lot of fun. So this gentleman, Gerhardt, he's a member of the International Fellowship of Flying Rotarians. And he came for a gathering with Al Clayton in conjunction with the RAF. There's some of what I just described with a little bit of 10,000-year-old ice in it. It's pretty cool to do.
You talk about 10,000-year-old bacteria?
Yeah, it's...
That's a good thing about putting whiskey in it.
Yeah, we're...
Probably mellows that right out.
No issues with it, no issues. So, okay, what did we do? The next day, actually, we were also exhausted up there. We were in bed early and feeling good the next day. So the next day, again, here's McCarthy up in here. We did a trip. We went out to see a strip where the RAF done some work. One of our local supporters up there, Nugget Creek, and then we came back into McCarthy and then flew down to the Childs Glacier. And here's a strip that we landed at Nugget Creek. I wanted to show this because this strip was 800, or at one time was 800 feet long, but it had eroded right through the, mid-length, a 3-foot deep erosion rut, making two 400-foot strips. It's been that way for 15 years. One one of RAF supporters, the guy who owns a construction company, brought 2 skid steers up here with buckets and graders and vibrating compactors. And it took them 12 miles up a 2-track to get here. And they spent 2 days on here. They filled that 4-foot deep, 3-foot deep rut, and they compacted that whole strip. So all these strips, it's all glacial till up here. So it's little stones, big stones, it's everything, right? And so typical thing that you see is they pick the big rocks off the strip so you don't wreck your airplane, and then they leave everything else. This thing with these vibrating compactors, you never get this stuff in a park. They squished everything flat. It was like pavement. It was like, this is the nicest strip I've ever seen. And it was virtually in the middle of nowhere. The RAF has amazingly generous supporters. And then we had to put our little badge on it. So this was a neat strip too. Most of the strips, a lot of the strips in the park have cabins, and they're first come, first serve. This one is actually on recreation.gov, and you got to go reserve it and pay for it. But it's a really, really beautiful cabin. I mean, it's primitive, right? But you got a stove, you got, solid walls to keep the bears out. It's beautiful. And there's the outhouse. Look at where the outhouse is pointed. You think maybe there was a little bit of arborism or some arborists at work there? That's Mount Blackburn, 16,350 feet. It might be the best view from any outhouse you have.
No door?
Well, there was a door, but if you're among friends, hang your shirt on it as a flight warning, and everybody's on the back say, hey, don't come over here because the door is open. And this was only a park since 1980. Jimmy Carter made it a park. This was an operating mine, and I don't know when the mine went out, but there's some relics of the mining era there yet. So just kind of an interesting thing. I wanted to show this guy. That's the group. We're at Nugget Creek standing by the RAF sign. But this gentleman taking the selfie, he was our tour guide at Kennecott Mill. He was just a young man giving us the tour. And this whole group is taking the tour. And he finds out that we're flying bush planes and we're up there. And he's, oh my God, I want to do that someday. I really want to learn how to fly. And we said, well, you got any days off? So I wanted to share with this because I know a lot of you in here are really involved with Young Eagles and kind of getting the youth involved. And I just said, hey, Orion, his dad is a software engineer for Microsoft. And he lives in Seattle. But I said, Ryan, hey, let's come flying with us. So we took him flying for the day. He couldn't stop smiling. He just thought it was the coolest thing ever. So that was the morning, and that was up here, up to Nugget Creek. And then we dropped Orion off. He had something for the next day. And then we went down here to another RAF strip to go look at a strip that we worked on, a bunch of our supporters worked on. There's a strip right here. Sped up a little bit. I really wasn't flying that fast. Oh, look at this. Look at what we have here. So this is a really, really cool strip. It's part of the old, I'm learning the tool. But this is next to the Copper River. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar or heard of the Copper River. That's the Copper River and a bunch of glaciers coming down. It's the Miles Glacier and the Childs Glacier coming down here. So there's a roadbed. There used to be a road that came from Cordova, okay? In the day, it was the old railroad that they built from the Kennecott mine to Cordova to ship the copper ore out. But they closed the mine in 1931. And then they made a portion of the rail line a road. And so you could get up to these beautiful places, including the Childs Glacier, which is right here on the Copper River. This road, Cordova's over here, you used to be able to drive here. Well, what happened though is, remember I showed you about the river earlier and how they changed course? Well, there was a bunch of bridges that this road was on and the river eventually took them out. So as of about 10 or so years ago, you couldn't get here by car anymore. But there was a road here. So the RAF approached the Forest Service and said, how about if we turn a section of the road into a runway? So right here is a 1,000-foot runway that we created. And the reason that we got created is because right over here, there is a Forest Service campground that looks across at the Childs Glacier, right across the river. And it's a spectacular campground. Rumor has it that when the glacier calves, it creates such a big tidal wave in the river that it washes the salmon up into the alders on the near side, and you just go pick your salmon out of the alders. I don't know how many times that's happened. I think it's at least happened once, but it's a great story, isn't it? But the RAF partnered with the Forest Service, and we got this thing open up as a strip, and it's really a beautiful place. So not only, and there's our group with Steph Goes in the middle and Joe and Jim on the right, but so our supporter lives in Cordova. He's the one that's really done most of the work or coordinated most of the work on making this strip. But the campground is what, 1.5 miles from the airstrip? Jim, is that right? Yeah. It's like 1.5 miles. It's a nice walk, but most people say, I don't want to walk 1.5 miles. So the supporter said we got to have some bikes there. But the problem with bikes is the bears get at them and rip them apart. So you can see what we did. So that is an old cellular communication, prefab building. This supporter got a hold of it from the local cell company for free. And he's buddies with the helicopter company. And he had the helicopter service fly it out here and put it. And then they built that little bike thing on it. Isn't that cool? It's all about networking and building relationships with all sorts of people. But so he got this all done, and now we have bikes out here. So it's a really neat spot. There's a picture across the Copper River looking at the glacier, Childs Glacier. And this glacier is amazing. It's moaning, it's groaning, it's calving. It's really an active glacier. Maybe we can take it. That was a little loud. Pretty amazing glacier, isn't it? Well, look at that. What we have here. I'm not even sure where we're going now. Oh, this is Childs Glacier Strip. And then if you notice on the way up, I had that little shot. We were flying down the valley that was kind of hyperspeed. And I mentioned as we were flying over it, there was a little strip down there. So this is a beautiful strip partway between McCarthy and Childs Glacier. It's Upper T-Bay Lake, and again, it's just mountains all the way around. It's a pretty primitive strip, but it's absolutely gorgeous. In 2018, when I was up there with Jeff Plants, I landed on this strip. Jeff landed his float plane in the lake in the distance on the right, and we went and caught lake trout in that lake off of his floats. One thing we didn't get to do, it's probably, it's a reason to go back, But this is part of the park, and it's called Icy Bay. And if you can see a little bit on here, glaciers are coming down into that bay from all directions. You get about 20% of the days you can actually get here. It's on the ocean. It's a marine environment. We were out there for the whole week, and we never had a day that we could get out there. And that's not a picture any of us took. That's off the internet. Does it maybe look like a place you want to go? It's absolutely beautiful. And someday I hope I can still make it to Icy Bay. Okay, then what? Well, we're out of order here. Oh, we're heading down to, so we from Wrangell St. Elias, we ran over to north of Anchorage, and we were in Palmer area, staying with some friends, Steph and Randy Gosa, who actually have a cabin we're staying with friends out in McCarthy. So then we followed them to their house, stayed there one night, and the next part of our trip was to go down to Lake Iliamna and to go to Brooks Falls in Katmai National Park. And the reason you go down there is because of the bears. It's a spectacular place. Ralph and Pete were just there too. A week ahead of us, probably 2 weeks ahead of us. So there's our flight from north of Anchorage down Cook Inlet. On the way down, we went through famous Lake Clark Pass and down Lake Clark and all the way down here to Lake Iliamna. And then on the way back, we hopped out through the mountains from Port Ellsworth, and we did a little bear viewing out here and then flew up the coast on the way back. There's one of Jim's spectacular shots. And Jim's wife, what did she say? She didn't believe. What did you do to that picture? It's not, that is how it looks. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it's an amazing place, but Jim really did a neat job of capturing it. So we went down and we visited a guy, Jerry Jakes, and Jerry has grizzly viewing. He calls it Alaska Grizzly Safaris. And if you go to Ralph and Pete went to this very place. And they take you on flyouts every day to go look at grizzly bears, or brown bears as they call them. If you get a chance, and I didn't warn you, but Jerry's on the right, there's a really, really good interview he did. I think it's called Airplanes and Coffee or Airplanes in the Wild. That QR code, if you take your phone right now, if you're interested, if you take a picture of that QR code will take you to that YouTube video. It's a great video. Jerry is one of those, he's one of the bush pilots extraordinaire. His story, and you'll hear it in the video. He talks about, I was flying for quite a few years, and I decided I should probably get my pilot's license. It's the real deal, though. I mean, the guy ran away from home when he was a 16-year-old kid and started working for a rafting outfitter in Alaska. I mean, the guys, he's the real deal. So this is Brooks Falls out in Katmai National Park. The only way to get there is on a float plane. About 500 people show up every day and then leave again. Jeff Plants has a whole nother story that he can tell you about this place, but we'll let him. But that's what the beach looks like at Brooks Falls. What? You think there's a few fish there? You notice down here, these look like rocks? Those are all fish. You could walk across the Brooks River on the fish. They were so thick. We were there in 2018 and we saw a lot of fish. I think this was 5 times or more as many fish. This was one of the biggest runs they've ever had. There were fish everywhere and they're jumping up the falls. And guess what? If you have salmon everywhere, guess what you have with the salmon? We got brown bears. and they are feasting like kings. That's the shot that Jim took. I mean, people say, well, how close were you? Well, we were, at least 10 feet. But, and I wouldn't recommend this anywhere else. But up here, the bears don't care about you. Now, this in the lower 48 out in the Rockies, this does not apply. If you see a bear, get the bear spray out now. But up here, the bears don't care about you. They just are into the fish, and you can be right next to them, and they just, they're just going about their business. Anyway, got to show you a few. We had a spectacular day at Brooks Falls. It gives you a little appreciation for. There's no fences, there's no gates, there's no nothing. It's just tourists with cameras and bears everywhere. The guy was full and taking a nap. We were walking down the trail, and he was about 6 feet off the trail. On the way back, we flew back up. I showed you earlier, kind of over Lake Clark. We stopped at Port Ellsworth. There was so much I could have put in here, but we would have been, I was going to tell you, I have 9 hours worth of material, so I'll just keep talking. You guys, when the last person leaves, I'll stop. No. I had to pare it down a little bit, but this was a beautiful beach that we landed on. I don't even know if they considered it a strip. It was just a beach. It was somewhat low tide, but it was right over on Cook Inlet, just a neat spot. And that was why we went over there to go see some bears. There's a mom and a couple of cubs. And it was super low tide. I don't know. It was a quarter mile of mudflat out to where they were. And then we got back, and we were going to stay with Randy and Steph Goza back up in Palmer. We flew back up, and we went out, and I think it was that same day that we had flown all the way back from Iliamna. It was 3 or 4 hours of flying, but we got back and the sun was beautiful, and we're like, we got to go out and get some air-to-air pictures. Jim really wanted to take some pictures. And this was a strip. After we got done taking pictures, Randy says, and he lives 10 miles from here. So this strip is interesting because it's next to the Knik Glacier. And there's a side valley that comes down into the Knik Glacier, and it's got this huge river coming down. And the river goes straight under the glacier, just disappears under the glacier. So this, and they call it a wormhole. And this is the wormhole strip. This is me landing. This is Joe taking the video. Randy is standing where my touchdown spot's supposed to be, because this strip is about 260 feet long. So I had to hit the spot. And you'll see it's not a real elegant landing, but I used about Actually, you guys notice how I cut it right there and I didn't show you the bounce? You know what? Believe it or not, I didn't bounce because you could not bounce at this strip. There was no bouncing. I used about half of it. It was a little bit of skill and mostly luck. But it's just a beautiful spot. Here, and the sun isn't the best for this, but this is the river. We're going to try that one more time. No? Shoot. Well, I'm sorry that there was a really cool video of that river running under the glacier, but it's not playing for me. Scott, hit the space bar. No. Whatever. was me taking off from the strip. And the Wormhole River is right the cliff that I went off of. Okay, enough of that. You know, it was a neat spot. It was really an amazing thing to see. I probably wouldn't do that again. There just wasn't enough margin for error. So I went there, I did it, everything turned out fine, but I wouldn't land there again. It was just pretty tight. So next day we go and we do a little trip from, here's Steph and Randy's place right here in Palmer. And we did, I think these are the days, I mean, this is like the Wormhole Strip down here. We went up and checked out Lake George. This is the Knik Glacier. I mean, and then we went up, this is Friday Creek. I think I actually have those shots next. This was a really fun day. And then the next day we went up and did the headwaters of the Talkeetna River and around here to the Talkeetna, well, this is the headwaters of the Talkeetna. And then it joins up with another river here and it flows into Talkeetna. And some of you may be familiar with Talkeetna as the jumping off point for going to Denali. We didn't actually go any further to Denali, but we did get some views of it. Yeah, there's a gorgeous valley that we landed at. This is the sled strip. And right, I mean, in the mountains, those little braids are the actual headwaters of the Talkeetna River. And it was a pretty spectacular place. We were so fortunate to stay with Steph and Randy. They're Cub people. And this is what they do. This is one of their favorite places. We could have wandered around Alaska on our own, and we've heard about a lot of different places. But we not only had some amazing accommodations, we had local tour guides showing us their favorite places. We were so fortunate. Any idea why they call it the sled strip? It's way out in the middle of nowhere, and those snowmobiles died. And well, don't say they're snow machines in Alaska. Jim's playing. Here's our group with Randy Goza, Steph Goza, Joe, Jim, and I. Not having any fun. Here's I don't know what it's going to do. Oh, here it is. We'll see if this one plays. There we go. Thank you, Scott. That is flying down the very tip of the Talkeetna River. Later in the trip, I bought this 360 camera, and I really was kind of learning how to use it. Well, I realized that when you're up high and you're really far from everything, when you're flying, it doesn't look like anything's moving. Well, the way to get really cool videos, you got to get close to stuff. So I just jumped down in the valley. You know, we always have to be respectful of other people in the area. That might not be respectful of other people, but there's nobody there. I mean, we were out in the middle of nowhere. So flying like that is just fine. Here's a picture up at Upper Friday Creek Strip, another gorgeous spot that we stopped. You know, just mountains straight up all the way around you. This was a really, this was a rougher strip. And if you got off the strip, you couldn't move. Some really gorgeous scenery again. Oh, here's actually Jim coming in. But look at, see the ground? Those are called tussocks. So it's actually not terrible of a strip, but boy, you got off the strip, my wheels were immediately chocked. I had 31-inch bush wheels, I couldn't move. The tussocks were just big, potholey, I mean, and it's all like lichen and, you know, it's really, you know, interesting. This stuff, you know, you felt guilty walking on it. This lichen was crumbly, white, beautiful, delicate. It's vegetation that I've never seen anywhere. But, you know, it was everywhere. It was like a carpet of this stuff. And you walked around and you were just shattering it. And we've heard people say, that the ecosystems are so fragile up here that they just don't recover if you come and you really destroy them because it takes so long. So it's just a point of reflection in the trip. So here's down in the Knik, took off there's some glacial water, just took off and flying through this little valley up to the toe of the glacier. This is Jim coming in for a landing on a gravel bar on the Knik. Again, you look at that, that's glacial till out in the middle of the river. There's one of Jim's beautiful shots. I saw him taking this picture. I grabbed my camera, I ran over there. By the time I got over there, there was a little bit of a wind and some rain, and there was no good reflection anymore. Jim got a shot of Randy over one of the glacial streams. There's a picture of Joe that Jim got. Just amazing, some amazing photography. Picture of Ted on a glacial river. Another picture of Randy that Jim got in front of a glacier, over a glacier. Well, and that actually is from a previous trip in 2023 when we were up there together. One of Jim's pictures. And another one of Randy. And another one from a previous trip. A lot of these, Jim's an amazing photographer. Really, really great stuff. And you may have seen some of these in magazines as well. That's a previous trip because that's Joe's old airplane. Looks similar paint scheme. And here's kind of after the last day of goofing around and flying. This is flying back to Steph and Randy's place. And there we are camping again, so you know what that means. We're on the road home. So this is somewhere in Sundre, right, Jim? Oh, is this Watson Lake? Oh, yeah, there were a few mosquitoes at Watson Lake. So hey, I've been fortunate to have flown to Alaska a few times. I didn't cover some of those other trips. If you're interested, this is a YouTube video on supercub.org. We did a webinar. That QR code will take you to it if you're interested, if I haven't worn you out yet tonight. And here's one that Jeff Plants and I did from a few years ago. Again, if that QR code is big enough and it shows up, those will take you to those presentations. That is Mount Blackburn that we're flying around that day on the way out of McCarthy. Pretty amazing. And, one of the guys that we connected with while we were up here was a guy named Ted Waltman. Ted's just a great friend and a great guy. I just want to promote his website a little bit. He has a website called fly2ak.com. It tells you how to get to Alaska, what to do, weather, customs, blah, 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 everything you could ever want to know about flying through Canada, all the different routes to get up there. This is a phenomenal resource. This is Ted's plane and his tent on at Icy Bay. I wish we could have gotten there. And then thank you to Jim and Joe, Christina and Rich Young, who put us up in McCarthy, Al Clayton, Steph and Randy Goza, Jerry Jakes, Ted, Alan, and Tara Gaddis that put us up on the way back, Ralph Rogers that put us up on the way up there, and then our Recreational Aviation Foundation and supercub.org community. That's it. Not bad. I thought I thought I was going long. Questions? Look.
What kind of iPhone does Jim have?
He brought his iPhone, but he also has a really expensive fancy camera too. Yeah. He's good with whatever you put in his hands. Yeah.
Did anybody have any mechanical issues?
Not really. No, I mean, the biggest thing was the mower, right? And here you are out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you're 12 miles or 15 miles from a road, from anywhere. And I have a 23-pound tool bag, probably bigger than I should have, but I carry a lot of tools. And then I have a bag of AN hardware. And the mowers broke down, and I could see what was wrong. The clutch started spinning and ripped the wires off, electromagnetic clutch. And I said, well, we got to anchor this somehow. And I went and we wire spliced it and put some AN hardware in there, and we got it running. So there's our biggest mechanical problem. I mean, Jim, did we have any issue? Nobody had a...
You almost left your airplane at the wormhole.
No. No, I didn't. But here's the deal. We brought oil. We brought filters. We brought a drain tube to drain our oil because I did 90 hours. Jim, you probably did 80 hours?
No, about 90.
Oh, were you? Okay. So I think, 90 hours on the trip. So you're going to change oil. So you plan for it, be prepared. You're in Anchorage, or if you get to the Anchorage area, there's airplane parts everywhere. I mean, there's oil, there's filters, there's whatever you need. It's there. Oh, aircraft spruce. Didn't we go there twice? Aircraft spruce, one of their major outlets is in Palmer or Wasilla. I mean, what was it, a 10-minute drive from Steph and Randy's? And so Joe got an air filter. I can't.
We didn't have any big problems.
No, but we do a lot of things, the little bit more of the how. I tested my battery before we left. It was not up to snuff. It was only a 2-year-old Odyssey, but it was charging good in the airplane, but it wasn't good. So I put an EarthX in a month or two before we left. I mean, we go through our planes. My gear bolts were changed before I left. My tail wheel bolts were changed before we left. There's other stuff. I mean, you just go over your airplanes. You don't want to have a problem up there. So we go through them. We make sure they're in the great shape. And, last time we went up to Alaska, I flew up in the February of 2023 on skis to follow the Iditarod. Thought, I might want to make sure so I bought a brand new battery in 2023. So that battery was already bad. But again, same thing. Just prep. That's why we didn't have problems. We just all are maybe a little anal about taking care of our airplanes because we fly in places where it's pretty unforgiving to have a problem. But there's safety in numbers with 3 of us flying together. That's where you want to be. You have a problem, you got two friends right there, right? And we all carry inReaches, right? So the one thing that I didn't talk about, but I had Starlink in my airplane. I put a Starlink Mini in the back of my airplane, and we had full satellite coverage everywhere we went. I could make phone calls. Jim would sneak up in tight, and he could actually get onto the Wi-Fi signal and while we were flying, and he's got Starlink in his airplane while we're flying. Except I'm thinking, so Jim sneaks up and comes into kind of tight formation with me, and then he looks down at his device and he starts browsing the internet. Say, what could go wrong here? So after that I thought, Jim, you take the lead when you want to use the internet. I'll follow you. Anyway, but I mean, technology is amazing. The inReaches, when we thought we had inReaches, we thought we had the world. And then a good supercub.org guy, another Cub guy up in Alaska, who's a tech head, came up with a auto-responding text system for METARs and TAFs. So you take your inReach and you do the 4-letter identifier for the airport and an M before it. M, and you text it to that number, and back comes the METAR for you. So we had that a few years ago, and that's what we thought. But now we got full Starlink. We can look at everything. So
Yeah, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Did you ever get, when you're up there flying or when you landed, did you ever get socked in or did you ever get nervous seeing some weather coming and you afraid you wouldn't be able to get back or no?
You know, so you fly, I mean, I'm not going to promote this with folks, but you fly into some pretty bad stuff, right? I mean, you're in the mountains, so you have to respect that. But you end up flying in, you know, the local Part 135 operators up there, they fly, their minimums are 502. We can't legally do that because, you know, VFR minimums are, right, 1,003, but they fly 502. And if you get caught in stuff, don't go below that. Not saying we did anything in that range, but don't go below 502. When the air operators who fly these areas every day, they're a bunch of young guys that are flying 206s and 185s and everything, and they're all parked for the day, not going out. Don't fly. So we were watching the weather. So that day we went to Ross Green Lake and Iceberg Lake. Was one of the, I didn't show a lot on that, but we flew right toward the coast, toward the Bagley ice field. And you could see, you know, it wasn't a great day to start with, but the further we got to the coast, it was getting crappier and crappier. And then we're sitting out there and we're like, oh yeah, we're not going to have all day out here because it was coming down and getting worse. But we were going away from it, right? We knew, you know, the stuff was pushing us back toward home. So we knew we weren't, you know, we didn't get stuck. But we left. We would have flown more that day at Iceberg Lake, but he's like, hey, it's getting scuzzy. We got to get out of here. And it was spitting on us. And so.
Fuel wasn't an issue?
No. Your credit card might get a little warm at times, though. You know, you plan it out. Where we went, fuel was not an issue. McCarthy, there's a private person selling the fuel, so you sign up, you give them your credit card information, and you get on their system, and they give you a PIN, you know, a 4-digit number and a PIN, and you put your name on a clipboard. You unlock the system, you know, with your secret code, kind of like a door. And it was expensive, but I think it was $8 a gallon out there.
Yeah, what was, Indiana was how much?
$11.99.
We must have bought at that place.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You were at Ileana. You bought it. Yeah. Oh no, you didn't have. Pete said you didn't buy there though.
We didn't buy there. We didn't buy anything there, but
Yeah.
we paid 11 or at least $11.
You know, but here's the deal. You add up the whole cost of the trip. One fill-up or two fill-ups at $11.99. It might feel a little painful. It's a rounding error, right? I mean, well, it is. I mean, it's just that little bit, a few extra couple $100. Okay, you know. Yeah, I mean, I flew, you know, Jim and I, 90 hours, and I probably did 8 gallons an hour, and right, and we probably averaged, I don't know, $7 a gallon, something like that. So you can do the math. I was smart. You know, how can a Super Cub travel with a Maul and a 170? They both have constant speed props. They both have bigger engines, and I got a Super Cub. So before this trip, I bought a Sense&Itch ground adjustable prop. And I'll tell you what, that Sense&Itch ground adjustable prop paid for it. I mean, it was golden because I was about 9 minutes an hour behind these guys, roughly 9 minutes an hour, depending upon winds and a lot of other things. A 3-hour lag between fuel stops meant 27 minutes behind. So they'd land, they'd both fuel. Just as they were getting done fueling, I'd land. I'd fuel, we'd all take off together. That prop moved me from 92, 93 miles an hour to about 109 miles an hour. My fuel burn went from 6.7 to 9.5. But we got to fly as a group. Without that prop, we couldn't have done it. I would have been an hour behind them at every fuel stop. So that prop was really, and again, bought the prop with the thought that we were going to do some traveling like this. Matt, you got any questions?
I'm good.
Put you to sleep? Sorry. No, I'm good. Anybody? Well, hey, thanks everybody for having me.